Welcome, David, on your travels, which brings me to the topic that I want to talk about is how to travel without breaking biology. I have some travels coming up. We know a lot of people we work with are like very frequent travelers. Uh, what is happening to our body when we travel, and how can we deal with it? And what maybe even screening we can do before we travel and when we
Mhm.
are on our journey, because that to me is like I'm getting ready for a travel in a few weeks. What I am doing now, what I'm focusing on now, not getting big or this and that. I want to get fit. Like, so my cardio is actually number one, just because of what I'm going to do there when I travel. what
Yeah.
what should generally people look at?
Yeah. So, couple things, right? When you are traveling, right? If you're picking your own accommodations, it's well worth the time to start screening the area, kind of like you said beforehand, right? And we've done so many episodes on like circadian biology, right? Like I'm gonna kind of skip over the conversation of like time zones and all of that type of stuff. Because that's an in-depth conversation. It's not that it doesn't matter, it's just we've done episodes. This episode is more about um choosing places right, in the area that you're going to be going that are potentially better for health. And I'm not talking about uh, um, the time zone or the sunniness or not sunniness of it. I'm not necessarily talking about the natural environment that you're going to. I'm talking about the actual place, the hotel room, the Airbnb, the place you're actually going to be staying at, right? So there are a couple things that set you up for success here. Um, and One of those is screening. The first thing that you want to do is just pull up maps, right? Google Maps or Google Earth. I like Google Earth because it allows you to zoom in much, much closer. It allows you to even drop, the street view if it's available in that area, right? I like to do that. And what I like to look for is power lines, transformers, things like that. Uh, that's actually what I look in the first, I would say half a mile of like the place that I'm going to be at, right? There's another website called Cell Mappers Worldwide. And within the United States, there is another website called Antenna Search, right? Those two websites are very valuable for telling you the location of cell phone towers. Um, so I like to overlay those, right? You can't do it in the same software. You have to use two different windows, but you can look at the area that you're looking for Airbnbs and you can see, hey, where are all the cell phone towers located? And again, if it's out of the country, you use Cell Mapper. If it's within America, you can use antenna search. They're all very accurate. And the reason for that is all antennas need to be registered with governments and the FCC and all of those types of things, right? Even in foreign nations. If you look at like, for example, I'm traveling in Costa Rica. Just the Wi-Fi routers and stuff on there. If you look at them, they're all FCC regulated, right? That's a American organization, right?
Mm.
So all of this stuff is far as technology goes, it's all from the big tech companies, right? AI, Google, all of these things, and so they're all regulated, they're all centralized, and because they're all centralized, it works to your advantage. You can find out where they are. And that's the websites that I use. So I generally try to make sure that the cell phone towers are at least a half a mile away from where I'm living or where I'm going to be picking a place. And if not, I try to pick a place a little bit the furthest that I can get within the area from a cell phone tower. The next biggest thing that I look for is vegetation, right? If you're going to like I'm in Costa Rica, vegetation makes a huge difference, right? There could be a cell phone tower. In fact, there is a cell phone tower about a quarter mile away from me, but between me and it, it's just jungle. It's just jungle. So the radiation from that is completely almost 100% blocked because of the vegetation. So depending on the area, you can get away with proximity and stuff like that. These are things that you kind of start to pick up when you have meters, right? Which brings us to the next conversation. It's one of the basics of like keeping your biology intact is just knowing where you're going to be assaulted, right? Like if you know, right, let's not necessarily talk about EMS for a second, but if you know there is a dangerous area, you tend to avoid it, right? Whatever that danger might be, whether it's physical harm or mental harm or whatever, you tend to avoid it. That's always the best for any of this stuff, right? So that's why I use the screening method first. If you know that these exist in these proximity, just avoid it. See if you can get an Airbnb a little bit further away, or a hotel that's not right next to the transformer station a block away, or right? That type of stuff. So that's step number one. Now, that does not guarantee safety in terms of not messing your biology. Unfortunately, there isn't a guarantee. Just like everything else in life, there will be modifications as you go, right? And so I'm going to give you an example. The first Airbnb from the last episode was at the beach here in Costa Rica, so right on the coast. And I lucked out. My surveying worked out really, really well. There was two cell phone towers in the little town, both of them on the extremes of town. I picked the middle of town, rolling the dice that it wouldn't be heavy traffic and all of that type of stuff. And sure enough, it wasn't, right? And coincidentally, when we went into the house, they just had a normal Wi-Fi setup, right? Basically just a router and a normal setup. You could just unplug it, right? You could just unplug it. It wasn't even a big deal. I didn't even unplug it. I just brought my little timer with me, right? A little manual timer, right? So I just plugged in the Wi-Fi router to the timer, set it to when we wake up, set it to when we go to sleep. No big deal. It was a set and forget situation. It worked out literally perfect. Okay. Now, yesterday we moved to the volcano. So about 3 hours inland. And the place that we're staying at is brand new built this year. And we all came in, right? And immediately everything just looked really nice, brand new. Alexa on the counter, Alexa in the bedrooms, right? Everything that most people would associate with like high quality, high class, modern living, right? But immediately, those are red flags for me. I'm like, okay, how are they integrated, right? Is there just a central Wi-Fi router? And unfortunately, just like more modern buildings, they have access points everywhere, right? So I ended up finding access points all over the house, 5 of them to be total, 5 different bedrooms, 5 different access points, etc. And, smart TV in every bedroom, that sort of stuff. Here is one of the basics that even people like me, supposedly an expert, forgot. I forgot my meter, right? I just counted on my reliance of like my screening capabilities, that I just kind of just forgot the meter, right? Now, I've been here. I've had to do this type of thing without a meter before, and I am an electrician and a communications expert. So it took me 2 hours, but I figured out how to turn off all the access points and all the Wi-Fi. But I had to flip through breakers and all of that type of stuff. But it's a lesson that even I had to learn, which is forgetting the basics or forgetting to do the basics always, always, always costs you more time or more money or both. It never is different. It will never be different, right? And this doesn't have to just necessarily apply to, searching out EMFs and making sure that your place you're staying in is safe for you to stay in and not going to harm your biology. It also comes down to what we do as professionals, which is helping people make change, helping people get better, coaching. That involves a feedback mechanism, just like a meter. A meter is just a feedback mechanism, right? Now,
For me,
I
before you even go there, it would be interesting to kind of you justify why did you go through all house to spend hours and hours to figure out how to switch Wi-Fi off? Like, what was the cause?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So we'll talk about that. That's actually what I'm getting at, right? I'm luckily unlucky that I'm kind of sensitive to Wi-Fi, like specifically Wi-Fi, specifically RF radiation. I am very sensitive to it. I can literally hear my ears ring and start to get a headache if I'm around too much Wi-Fi. Not like a Wi-Fi router, although I can pinpoint a Wi-Fi router. If I walk into a building, I can almost tell you where Wi-Fi is located, where it's going to be stronger because of the sensation that I get. If it's really strong, like multiple Wi-Fi points and stuff like that, I start to get a headache. I start almost a feel of dehydration. So immediately, that's what kind of started to let me know that there was too much Wi-Fi, even though I didn't have a meter, is we were in the house for less than an hour. We were just kind of watching TV, unpacking things, and I started to get these symptoms. I didn't actually immediately associate it with Wi-Fi. I just thought might be a little bit dehydrated. We'd been traveling for 3 or 4 hours in a car. So I just drank some water, drank some electrolytes, AKA did some of the basic things that I know that needs to be done whenever you start to get feelings of dehydration. That almost always starts in the head, by the way. That's a biological thing for most people to understand. When you're dehydrated and it's a muscle thing, that's way far beyond, right? It starts right here. When you start to get brain fog, when you start to get a slight headache, that sort of stuff, that's the very first thing that I tell people to do. Drink some water, get some electrolytes in you, hydrate up. And it did kind of help. Like for an hour, I felt pretty normal and everything like that. But then my wife in the past has had electromagnetic field problems that induces acid reflux. And so she started to get literally acid reflux. She started to get heartburn, right? She's like, oh, I got heartburn. And she's like, I got to go find a medication, some Tums or whatever, and take it. And I'm like, oh, that's strange. Have you had heartburn this whole time? Like at all, all the different food because we've already been here for a week. She's like, no, this is the first time. So immediately that told me that there's something, right? Because we hadn't ate, right? We were just actually getting ready to go to dinner. And we were trying to figure out where we were going to. So nobody had ate. There wasn't a reason for the heartburn. She's getting heartburn. I'm getting this brain fog thing, right? And then one of my kids, coincidentally, was playing on his, tablet, and he's like, "Wow, the internet in here is really fast." Blah 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 blah. I was like, "Oh, I forgot to look where the Wi-Fi is, right? Like we did at the other house." So I started looking for where the Wi-Fi was to plug in my thing, right, to automate it, and there wasn't one, right? So immediately that's when I started looking at the wall, started looking at things, and I found five, in every bedroom there was one of these repeaters, right? Now, the way that I found them, I didn't have a meter, right? So my symptoms alerted me to a problem, right? Then what I did is I took my phone and there's apps to see Wi-Fi signal strength, right? That's convenient for people when they're shopping coffee shops and whatever. Like, well, how strong is the Wi-Fi at that coffee shop? Or, there's little apps for that. So I downloaded one of those apps and immediately it told me, hey, there's a Wi-Fi signal coming from this bedroom and it's this strong. And as I got closer to it, it got stronger. And it's called DBS, right? So the numbers are called DBS, which is an abbreviation for signal strength. And as the number goes up, it's weaker. As the number goes down, it's stronger, right? So I literally took my phone into every bedroom and I could pinpoint the strength of every signal. Then that's when I knew, okay, clearly though, because they're not marked, right? They were just these white things on the wall, right? And so immediately I pulled a couple of them off, unplugged them. Sure enough, my phone verified that I had unplugged that Wi-Fi signal. It showed that it died, right? And so I did that, but there was a few in the ceilings and stuff like that I couldn't get down. And then I immediately just like, oh, okay, well, there's got to be a breaker for the power for these. So I found the breaker box. And again, I'm an electrician. People don't have to be comfortable with this or anything like that, but I am, right? So I just had, different people located in the house, my kids and my wife, and I just flipped through all the breakers, turned them on and off, and recorded, right? Wrote them down on a piece of paper, what breaker does what, right? And after a little while, right? It took a total of about 2 hours in the evening after we ate dinner and came back to the place. We found out how to turn off the Wi-Fi to the place and how to mitigate any electromagnetic fields because people that might not be familiar with this. New appliances are the worst because they all come with a Wi-Fi chip, whether you're using Wi-Fi or not, right? And so because this is new, all of the appliances had Wi-Fi integration, right? And so what I did is I just powered them off, right? Powered off the stove, powered off. The only thing that I left powered up was the fridge, but it was on the other side of the house. I didn't care about that, right? And then the mini splits, right? The air conditioning. I just opened up the panel and removed the little chip, right? Just removed the little chip, set it on the table. We'll put it back in when we leave, right? It's not a big deal. And that's what I did. This morning, number one, if there would have been a lot of Wi-Fi, I would not have slept through the night. I probably would have woken up early, right? 2 a.m., 3 a.m. for no real reason, right? I just would have woken up. I almost guarantee because this happens a lot when we stay in hotels, right? In hotels, you don't have this capability, right? You can't turn off the Wi-Fi, that sort of stuff. And we'll talk a little bit about that as far as like mitigation strategies for those types of scenarios. But point being, I had great sleep, woke up, 8 hours later, everybody else in the house reported great sleep. And more importantly, the assessment of, did we sleep well, right? Did we go through proper sleep cycles? None of us wear Oura rings or that stuff, but it's easy to verify, right? If you're literally not capable of thinking, filling out a simple crossword puzzle, thinking critically for like a moment or two, about 10 minutes after you've gone to the bathroom, right? If you're not capable of augmenting your thoughts onto paper physically, right, with a crossword puzzle or with some kind of a learning game, then that tells me that you probably underslept, or at the very least did not get proper sleep cycle thinking. Now, after one night, it might not register. But point being, because of the situation, I did do a little self-test on that. Seemed like everything is normal. The next morning, tomorrow morning, I'll do the same thing. And we're only here for 5 nights. If there is going to be a reaction, I anticipate it within the first 2 or 3, right? Now, the fact that I'm turning it off every night, I'm anticipating nothing, right? And so far, that's the feedback, right? There needs to be feedback. The feedback is, yes, David, you've turned off whatever might be assaulting your biology, and you seem to be sleeping well. No need to freak out or find another Airbnb. Now, this is not a brag or anything like that, but I have enough money that I wouldn't stay here if I can fix this, right? Like if I was waking up at 2 a.m. and, was having problems and more of my family continued to have some of the same problems, I would just book another Airbnb. Now that I'm physically here, I could literally drive to the Airbnb that I would need to book and verify it myself, right? Now, that would be way easier to do if I had a meter, kicking myself on the head because I forgot it, right? Which goes back to, some of the stuff that me and you were talking about before, which this is a reflection of not just electromagnetic field mitigation, but like changing your body. There needs to be a feedback system, even if it's just for yourself, right? I'm self-coached. I do this all the time. I started a new routine, and I forget to give myself feedback, weighing myself or recording the weights that I'm using, right? Just going in and doing work for the sake of doing work. I can do that every day, but that doesn't mean I'm going to make progress, right? If there isn't feedback. And that's probably the most important thing. There needs to be feedback. You got to figure out a way to give feedback back. So in this scenario, I'm absent meters, so I can't technically verify anything. I'm absent the ability to record electromagnetic fields interacting directly with my biology, because I don't have that type of meter either. But I have stand-ins, right? The little app that I used on the phone, that's a good stand-in for Wi-Fi. The self-test in the morning, that's a good stand-in for biological feedback of how well did I sleep, right? Even though I don't have an Oura ring or any of that fancy stuff, right? So all of that, all of the technology that we use to try to give us feedback, all of that starts with actual real world feedback. How did you sleep? How are you feeling this morning? How's your brain fog? That sort of stuff, right?
It definitely
Number one,
relates
right?
to what you mentioned about like coaching and stuff like that. When we ask them, do your check-ins, do your photos, do your videos, do your feedback, do everything like that. And for me, I have tracked my sleep for a long, extensive time. And what I don't ignore the data. I don't just look, oh, my REM sleep is good, my deep sleep is good. I'm like, how do I feel because of this? And what you mentioned already, like mental clarity. I know if when my REM sleep is really good, there is nothing that's going to hold me at home not to go work out. Like I'm just like, I need to work out. I have so much energy, even when my
Right,
body is
right.
absolutely beat up. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's actually a really good one. Another good one, especially for men, erection quality in the morning. I'm not joking, right? Now, do I think that this place is perfect from an electromagnetic field, this new place, from an electromagnetic field perspective? Mental clarity was good this morning. All of it was kind of good as far as like that feedback. So I'm not too worried about, my biology breaking down here. Now, compared to the other place, right? Because this is a different place. This is closer to the volcano, and it's the rainy season, right? You can tell in the background, it's pretty gray here. It's not very sunny. It's a little bit rainy. I'm not getting quite as much sunlight. Whereas in the other place, it was almost impossible. Like you can walk outside without getting a tan. But the 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 erection quality for me in that first place through the roof. Like you, I couldn't wake up without an erection. Like that just, if I was waking up, it was because I had an erection, right? In the other place, because of so much sun and nitric oxide accumulation. Remember what we talked about in previous episode about nitric oxide. The more nitric oxide you get in local areas, it gets stored there time after time after time. It saves, right? And so that stimulation is a circadian rhythm stimulation. So it tells you it's part of the cortisol rise and amplification of wakefulness is nitric oxide production for blood vessels to relax and start moving blood throughout the body. This includes to your, your erections and stuff like that. It also happens to women, but not quite as dramatically. For men, it's pretty irregular if you are getting plenty of nitric oxide and plenty of sunlight, right? Remember how there's been some episodes where I said the one gadget that I wish they would invent is something that you could embed in your head or on your forearm that tells you how much sunlight you've been getting, right? Well, here is a pseudonym or a stand-in for that type of technology. Erection quality for men. If you're getting plenty of UVA and UVB light, you're going to have high quality erections almost every morning, depending on exactly how much you've gotten. But if you've gotten enough, that should happen, right? So that's a feedback of that local environment, slightly better than this environment. No question about that. I'm not here to do, comparisons. I'm here to, have a vacation with my family. So I'm not worried about it, but this is the the point of this podcast. Feedback is crucial, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It's often very messy, right? Feedback is often very messy. Like, I look like shit today, but I feel good, right? That is truly something that can happen, right? You can look not that great, but you can feel outstanding because there are so many different variables that go on with where and how you interact with the environment, right? So let's just compare my biofeedback from the previous place to now. In the mornings, crystal clear clarity, great erections, and the need to move. Just like you said, I would wake up, I'd have like one cup of coffee. Guess where I'd go? I'd go for a run on the beach for like 20 minutes, right? Because I just felt so good, right? I felt full of energy, right? I felt if I don't do something about this, another cup of coffee and I'm going to be jittery, right? I'd go for a swim and go for a little run, and that worked great at that place. Here, I can tell from a biological feedback, just about the same amount of physical and mental energy, but probably a little bit lower in mood. Because of the clouds, right? The light changes mood, right? So it's more of just a slightly different feel, and that's feedback, right? It's not good, it's not bad, it just is, right? But does it tell you, okay, if I, for example, was in recovery mode, right, from a hard 2 months of training or just getting trashed because of work or whatever, clearly this place would not be as good to restore function as the first place. I kind of already bet on that because I've been to this country before. I knew that it was going to be more cloudy here, which is why we spent our first week at the sunny place so that we could all get charged up, right? We could all get charged up because at that place, the goal was just to hang out at the beach, do a little bit of bodyboarding, but mainly just get a good tan, solidify nitric oxide production, solidify circadian rhythm to this country, and all of that because you were getting clear day and night signals, right? Because it was so sunny and it was so dark when they would get dark. And now at this place is when we're going to do most of the activities. Like tomorrow, we're going to go whitewater rafting. The next day after that, we're going to go rappelling. The day after that, we're going to go zip lining, right? And all of that type of stuff. So we charged up the biology at the beginning of the week, the first week, sorry. And now the second week, we're doing all these activities that is completely dependent on dopamine stores and just sleeping well, right? Which is why I went through the effort of ensuring my sleeping environment in this new place is as high a quality as possible because the outside environment is not going to be able to make up for it because it's not a strong sun. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's already answering the question that I wanted to ask about, like how do you control your circadian like biology so your energy levels are in check and everything like that, and you kind of like lay it all in. Hey, if you
Yeah.
have the opportunity, make sure you figure out that you spend first part of this as much as possible in a place that gives you a lot of energy, and then go for it, explore it, so to speak, and enjoy
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly. And that's exactly what we plan on doing it, right? Today's the very first day. So yesterday we arrived in the afternoon at this new place. So today is the first full day here. As soon as I get done with this podcast, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to take my family, pop them in a car, and we're going to drive all over this place and find out all the exciting things to do, right? I'm not going to stay here, right? And
Mm.
and because the environment is cloudy and stuff, um, it actually makes it easier to walk around, right? Like I'm not sweating to death, right? I'm not sweating to death because it's so hot and sunny out. Whereas in the sun, yes, it's going to charge up your biology. Yes, I'm going to, have raging erections in the morning or whatever, right? Like the biology is working well. But in that environment, you're a heat engine. Your mitochondria are heat engines. What does that mean? It means you get more tired, right? Every afternoon at the beach, we took a nap. Why? Because we've got so much damn sun, so much adenosine, so much charge in the system that you would get put down a little bit because of how sunny it is, and how hot it is, right? So you get more energy when there's a bigger uh, temperature differential. That's how cold exposure works to bump up heat production and energy production, right? So in this place, it's actually kind of fit very well that now we can be very active, right? We feel like we can be very active because when you walk outside, you're not being oppressed by the heat in the sun. So there's a lot of little nuances in what I've just described of how I set up this vacation to really take advantage of setting circadian biology correctly. And like I said, in the first house, I lucked out for sure, as far as the Wi-Fi being a much more historic Wi-Fi that's very simple to manipulate versus this house. And those are kind of the intricacies of the basics in this modern world. Almost requires you, if you travel a lot, to have a meter on you, at least one or two, so that you can actually verify this and make this process a little bit more streamlined. I'm kicking my normally I do travel with meters. I'm just kicking myself this time because I just forgot it, right? It was just that simple. Sometimes that happens. But when you've done things like this long enough, you can kind of hack it, if you will, if you kind of think outside the box a little bit and know what you're looking for.
Is there anything nutrition wise that you suggest would kind of like help you to make sure that nothing breaks down, so to speak, so everything is in check, and maybe something with hydration or maybe some
Yes.
specific nutrients at some certain times?
Yeah. Yes. So number one priority that I have for any time that you're going from, especially if you're coming from a northern place to a southern place, start uh, adding extra salt to your fluids. Not necessarily bring more fluids, like drink more fluids, but you try to keep the same level of hydration, but you bring up the ion content, aka electrolytes, sodium, potassium, etc. And the reason for that is because when you start sweating, right, when you come from a colder place to a warmer place, a lot of that sweat is actually going to be dissipated. We know this now from actual studies. It's going to be a lot of metals. It's going to be a lot of the stuff that they're spraying in the air, right? When you sweat, you're sweating out things your body needs to get rid of. It's not just water and electrolytes. Like that's what most people think.
Mm.
It's actually microplastics, aluminum from the aluminum they're spraying in the skies. It's all of these things. You want to facilitate that, which means you want to sweat. You want to allow yourself to do it, right? But when you do that, you don't want to start playing catch up from the electrolyte perspective, right? And so that's why I start increasing the electrolyte content, even though I'm not going to increase the water content that I'm drinking, right? That's kind of a slightly different concept than most people would say. Most people would just say drink more water and add electrolytes to it. And that's fine once you're there if you feel like you need more. But at first, I just want way more sodium and electrolytes in the body so that when I start sweating a lot, I'm not going to be deficient in electrolytes when I replenish the hydration. So that's nutritionally speaking, number one. The second one is I always, uh, eat meat, eat protein in the morning, right? I go out of my way, especially in tourist areas in third world countries. I go out of my way to go to the local butcher store. I eat the local animals. I do not go to a Walmart, right? A Walmart that's here, because guess what? They have Kroger brand meat there. That brand of meat is coming from somewhere else, right?
Well, it's
And
interesting
I
you mentioned that because when we joined European Union, all the food started to come from all over the place, and obesity went through the roof,
Mhm.
literally. Cancer started to become a thing, and up
Yeah,
until we
because
joined European Union, you couldn't even see anything like that.
yeah, and the reason for that is part of the circadian mechanism, right? Food, plants, animals, they are electromagnetic barcodes of what is happening in that area, right? When the sun rises, when the sun sets, what food is around, the humidity, the temperature. The plants and the animals are registering that for you. If you eat them, you're giving your body feedback, not just from the outside now, but also from the inside. Remember the gut brain axis? You're actually telling the brain where you are, not just by the environment that you interact with, but by the food sources you eat. So that's the very first thing. When it comes to meat, like eggs, beef, whatever meat that you choose, whether it's chicken or whatever, I go out of my way to go to a local butcher and buy the local food that's
Mhm.
grown here. Obviously, fruits and stuff like that are very abundant here. You don't have to worry about that, right? You're not going to get imported fruit from anywhere because this is where it comes from. So the fruit stuff is solved, right? So basically, because I'm in a tropical place, I just go out of my way to ensure that the meat sources are from a local place, which can be a little bit deceiving because most people, if you're visiting, you're going to go to the local tourist shop and they're going to sell you the food there, right? And that is almost always imported because they try to close loop the system in tourist areas so that because the people that own the buildings in tourist areas aren't from here, they're from America, right? And so they like to import everything in those local tourist areas because it benefits all of the infrastructure towards that other country and not the local country. So there's two reasons why I do it. One, it actually helps the locals, and two, it helps me become a local much faster in terms of my circadian biology.
Makes a lot of sense. So you are lucky because you're in a place where you can have stuff like that. What about people who are going and traveling into more advanced places where it's like just restaurants and stuff like that? Should they ask
Correct. Right.
what do they cook, or is there any kind of hack that someone can adopt?
Yeah. So there are a couple, obviously most people that we're going to be talking to have enough money that they're going to go to nice places to sit down, and it's always beneficial to just ask, right? Just ask, where's the food coming from? Now if it's a great place, almost always chefs know this type of thing. They almost always go local, right? Especially if it's a high quality place. Now fast food places are fast food places, right? I'm not they're that's just what it
Yeah,
is, right? You're
yeah.
you're you're not going there because of nutrition. You're going there because you just need something to hold you over, right? So don't hesitate to ask. And probably more importantly, don't hesitate to just strike up a conversation with somebody who's local, right? A tourist guide, for example, or a hotel staff. Hey, where would you go that's kind of nice, right? If you're going to take out your wife and kids, where would you go, right? And and ask them why and when, right? That goes a long way. And again, that's feedback, right? That is feedback. This whole episode is about trying to get the feedback, as much feedback as possible. And that's also what I did both here and where I was in the first place. Is the very first thing I did was go to a local worker or a local person that was working in a local shop and ask them, what do you guys eat here? Where do you guys get it from? Where's, just asking questions is the easiest way to get feedback of where you're at and how you should act accordingly. Now, more to specifically to your point of what do you do about it if that's what you got, right? Restaurants, hotels to work with. Number one, having what I call a little kit, right? So my kit includes a roll of tinfoil tape, a roll of red tape, like red vinyl tape, and a roll of black tape, and obviously my meter. The reason for that is if you cannot turn off things like I did here, you can shield them. Aluminum is a great RF shielder. right? You can literally put, like if you find a repeater, and I've done this in hotel rooms, right? And I've tested it with a meter. You can find the access point that's in your hotel room, and you can cover it with tinfoil. You can literally, pull it off the wall if you can, or if it's sitting offside, you can just cover it, envelope it into some tinfoil, and that reduces at the maximum almost 75% of the radiation. And sometimes you get lucky and it reduces it down to only 10%. Now you're not going to be able to use your computer and your phone with it, right? This is more for sleeping. But yeah, when you do that, it'll significantly reduce the radiation, but you need a meter to find that out. And obviously the tinfoil. You could go to a local place and buy the tinfoil. I just have a little small tube that I put in my cage or in my luggage. And the red tape. The red tape, everybody knows that I like to, travel with a red light, right? With my red light therapy box. And I use that, right? That way I don't have to turn on a lot of lights. But when you have a whole house, right? Like I have my family with me, so it's multiple rooms, et cetera, all of that type of thing. I don't go out of my way to just make the bedroom or like the living room red with my light box. I'll do that, but then I'll go and pull out the regular LED light bulbs because they don't get hot. You can just take red vinyl tape, wrap the whole thing in red vinyl tape, screw it back in. Now you have a red light bulb. It lowers flicker because flicker happens in the blue wavelength and not in the red wavelength. So if you're sensitive to flicker and brain fog, it'll lower that. And plus it turns the ambient environment red and it doesn't disturb your circadian rhythm. That's a big hack. Just a roll of red vinyl tape. Now, in this particular house, it is newer. So there's no light switches here. They're all a sensor, right? They're all a sensor and they're all lit with a big blue ring, right? So immediately, right, you turn off the lights and all you see is blue dots everywhere. That's where the black tape comes in. I take the black tape and I cover them all up. Now you don't have to worry about it. So what did I ensure when doing all that? It sounds like a lot of work. I ensured that my body accurately knows without a shadow of a doubt, this is nighttime and this is daytime, right? When I go outside, I'm experiencing a lot of light. When I'm inside, as much darkness as possible, right? Another thing that I travel with, and this is something that, I praise my wife for, she bought it looks like a blanket, but it's got suction cups on it, and it's a blackout curtain. It's a blackout blanket. So if some places, hotel rooms are really good about this. So most people that are doing hotel rooms, they won't have to worry. Most hotel rooms have blackout curtains by requirement, but an Airbnb might be different, right? And so we have these blackout, and ours is pretty big. It'll cover a full sliding door, like two of them, right? And so we don't always use them. We don't always need them. But if we happen to need them, boom, immediately we can do that. And that's also what the aluminum foil is for, right? If there are like little windows that you have to block out, you can just aluminum foil, a little bit of black tape, and you've ensured pitch black in your bedroom at a minimum. That is a huge, huge part for adapting to a new environment. Now that's even crucial for like time zone jumping and stuff like that, is because the moment you can tell your body, this is clearly nighttime and this is clearly daytime, if you're halfway decent human being, as far as your biology working correctly, you're going to adapt very fast within a 24 or 48-hour period at the latest.
Yeah, and I see that being the biggest thing is that a lot of people travel and they don't want to adapt. They just stay in bed and do a lot of things. And it's because of what you said. It's like if you stay in Airbnb, light, noise might be very, very high, and many other things that people don't even know, like Wi-Fi
Yep.
and all those kind of things. I'm same like you. I can feel the massive difference. But then I will throw everything we talk about, like do some grounding, make sure you're going outside in the morning and all those kind of things. But yeah, this has been really great breakdown of what to look out for, why it's important, what little changes can be done, like, hey, go and
Yeah,
ask
and
your
another little hack, part of this kit. There's two more pieces to this kit. A battery powered sound machine for the sound, right? So if you're close to a noisy street or something like that, the reason why I like it battery powered, and a battery powered red LED clock, right? For alarms so that you don't have to use your phone. The reason why I like them battery powered, because you can have multiple of them, right? I have 3 of them in my luggage, right? Because I'm taking care of 3 bedrooms. But just in case you have to do what I did and turn off all the power, you still have a clock and you still have the ability to cancel out noise.
Yeah.
Those are big, powerful hacks right there.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine it makes huge difference. Thank you, David. Enjoy your day with your family, and I'll chat to you next week.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much.